What a 12 months it's been. Vaccination clinics, sustaination and recycling of our masks, new builds, new futures, new services, and what we continue to go through during the pandemic and the impact of the pandemic, especially on those who've lost loved ones. How do we begin that discussion and truly listen to the conversation and experiences of both our patients, relatives, and our colleagues?
I'm very grateful to be able to talk about my wonderful mother, Biddy. And for me, I think that's the main motivation for being here, to help to further celebrate her life. Biddy was such a larger-than-life character, and we all got a massive hole in our lives now. She was admitted to Treliske as an emergency in August. Visiting did become quite limited, and in her last week, my brother became the designated visitor. So my contact with her then was limited to video discussions over a mobile phone. What was really wonderful was that when we had those conversations, she would actually squeeze my brother's hand when we were talking. So we knew that she was still there. She may not be showing very much sign of it, but she was squeezing his hand, and we were getting through. We were making a connection. Biddy did die. She died on her own. It wasn't easy. We all felt that we would have loved to have been there, gathered around her bed. But we recognised that it was for the greater good, that the last thing we would have wanted would have been to have contributed to any more cases of COVID, particularly in a hospital setting.
My mum was Patricia Dinah Keeble, and she was born on the 27th of September 1928. And on the 4th of January, Mum was admitted to the acute medical unit here at Treliske. And that is when we had our final journey with Mum.
Mum picked up to the point where I remember the staff nurse giving Mum some food. And every night I used to kiss Mum on the forehead and say, I'll see you tomorrow, Mum. I'll see you tomorrow. And, around about 11 o'clock, I called in the staff nurse. I can't remember his name. He was such a nice chap. Such a nice chap. And 11:15, Mum passed away that day. I remember, the staff nurse calling in the end of life team, and I think it was Steph, and she was so nice to my mum. She asked me if she could lay her down and things like that. And I said, yeah, no problem. Of course you can. And it was such a peaceful event, it was. And every member of that staff on that ward was so kind. They were. Always remember it.
This Christmas, it just came in like a whirlwind. That was the first time that Cornwall had been hit really hard. We'd prepared for an entire year for that moment, but it felt like nothing we'd ever experienced before. Bringing myself to work every day, knowing that the first job I would do would be to walk around my ward and triage every single patient that was extremely unwell, and every day this was 6 or 8 patients, and I would give them the care that they needed, give them the instructions that they needed to fight for every breath that they could take, and then also prioritize which ones just needed something to make them more comfortable at that time of the day. And that was a really horrible thing to do. And I think I came back just after the bank holiday, and I came in the morning, as I do, big smile on my face, ready to give my team talk, my safety huddle. And I just walked on, and the atmosphere was different. Something had changed. I could see the exhaustion on the faces of the nurses on the night shift, and almost the disbelief of what's happening. And I looked at my device that shows me what's going on the ward, and I could see how many people were so sick. And I've just never before witnessed that, and since I've never witnessed that. And that's the kind of theme that it followed, you know, for the next month and a half probably, of just coming in every day and everybody was just exhausted, in disbelief. And then, you know, you just finish your handover and a patient has died again. Things change so quickly by the hour. A patient could be fine 1 minute and then they could be fighting for their life the next. And to try and explain that to relatives over the phone was impossible, and it was heartbreaking. They had to make decisions that nobody should have to make, really. You know, if you had a family of 4 people, only 2 of them could come and see your loved one, their loved one at the end of their lives. And, you know, I was looking after people the same age of my dad and seeing them die, and I just can't really imagine being told that I wouldn't be allowed to visit because there's a maximum of 2 people. And, you know, I see the other end of it, at the aftermath of it as well, where I'm responding to complaints and feedback from relatives who didn't get that chance. And I am just really sorry that they didn't get that chance, because everybody deserves that chance.
We know that during the pandemic, ward teams have been so incredibly stretched and communication has been really hard. What is clear from the other communications received by our engagement team is that RCHT does an awful lot that is helpful for bereaved families at the most awful times for them. As complaints officers, we're aware that no one comes to work to do a bad job or to cause upset, and that the past 14 months have been really challenging for everyone, staff, patients and the wider community. But what we've discovered through our analysis is just with a few small changes or times of reflection like this, we can see how we can improve and avoid similar occurrences where possible. One of our team's successes in the pandemic has been setting up our Stay Connected service. It's where families can keep in touch with their loved ones on the wards by sending us messages and cards, and we'll facilitate that by printing it off and sending it to the wards in a COVID secure way. And it's nice for our whole team that something really positive has come out of the pandemic.
Someone has said it's really lovely to hear how Mike and Simon talk so lovingly and respectfully about their mums. 2 amazing sounding ladies. So sad to hear how the pandemic affected 2 families who are still so touched by their losses. Thank you both.